Thank you for joining us today. Chief Eden and his team of recruiters are with us today from the Albuquerque Police Department. I'm going to start off with just a couple of opening remarks, and Chief's going to really go through the body of the press conference today. There's some new information today that we'd like to share with you about recruiting efforts at the Albuquerque Police Department. Everybody in our community understands, no one more than me as a mayor, that recruiting at APD is a significant issue. It's of the highest priority, and it's something that we always take seriously. We're always trying to be on the front edge of doing the right things and innovative things for recruiting. Most of you that follow the budget process know that we are authorized for 1,000 officers at the Albuquerque Police Department. That budget that just went down on April 1st to the City Council includes authorization for 1,000 officers. As we meet today, we have 878 officers that are sworn working at the Albuquerque Police Department. So that's about 122 officers below the authorized level, which from a percentage standpoint is about 12%. I know we've had some other departments. I think I saw the state police on television the other day talking about they're down 20% on their numbers. So this is not something that is unique to Albuquerque, but we are on the mayor, and this is the chief of the Albuquerque Police Department, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure our numbers are where we would like them to be. So we're working on a couple of fronts here. We're working on recruitment and retention. For example, for our officers who are experienced, who've been here for the 20 years of service, to keep them on board serving our community. In this year's budget, we sent a $1.7 million request to the City Council to help us with longevity and retention bonuses. That has helped significantly on that side of the equation for our officers that have been with the department for a period of time. Chief Eden, when he came in, brought in a significantly more robust social media campaign to attract the younger folks in our community who may be more inclined to be a candidate at the academy through social media, and that has been working quite well, according to Chief. I know he can answer that a little bit. This year at the session, we had a piece of legislation that we really felt would have made the difference for us. It was a return to work provision for Albuquerque Police that the city had for a number of years. It was taken away several years ago. That particular piece of legislation unfortunately died in the Senate Judiciary Committee. We felt that could have brought in somewhere between 100 and 150 officers, the most experienced officers, the ones with fantastic records, back to the front lines of policing. And it would have been a good thing for the officers and a good thing for the community. As I said, unfortunately, that didn't pass, and so that opportunity to bring those 100 or so officers back didn't materialize. We'll continue to work on that. We'll continue to ask our legislators to do that. We'll continue to do the math as it relates to return to work so that we have a good plan in place there. But we can't stop. It's too important, and it's something that we take very seriously on a day-to-day basis. A couple of things that a lot of you who have been in the media for a period of time know. We want to make sure that we're recruiting quality, not just quantity. We want to make sure that our cadets coming into the academies are of the highest caliber. We want effective and constitutional policing, and we want community policing in the city of Albuquerque. What Chief Eden's going to talk about, I think, really reflects that. We want to recruit candidates to our police academy who will leave well-trained, well-prepared, and well-educated in effective and constitutional policing, and of course in community policing. With that, I'm going to let Chief kind of run through the details for you. We certainly will take questions, and we have a few online questions that we will hit as well. Chief.
Thanks, Mayor. Last year, towards the end of the year, we formed our APD Recruiting Council. And we asked for members of the Albuquerque Public Schools, CNM, UNM, and various diversity groups throughout the city of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County to join us in a dialogue about what could we do to recruit more from our community. This is about recruiting from the greater Albuquerque area. And the theme overall was, you keep missing the exceptional candidates. And when we asked them, what do you mean by we're missing exceptional candidates? And they said, the 60 college credits was having an effect. We heard this from CNM, we heard it from APS, we heard it from UNM. And again, these are people that are working in the educational environment. So one of the things I asked our staff to do was start looking to see what was happening around the United States as far as trends. And one of the things that we found out is that it was important for people to be able to grow in their new job environment. Part of our discussion last year was CNM. We asked CNM to look at our basic training academy as well as our field training officer program and our CIT training. And I'm really proud to announce or re-announce the fact that we did sign a memorandum of understanding and agreement with C&M that upon graduating from the Albuquerque Police Department Academy and completion of the Field Training Officer Program, a cadet will earn 28 college credits. This means by looking at this approach, this means we'll be able to hire exceptional candidates. These are people who have proven to us and to the community that they have great work history, but they may not have been in a position to be able to go to college. So we are going to accept candidates who have 28 college credits upon graduation from our academy, but they're going to have to work towards completing that associate's degree with the Albuquerque Police Department. They are going to have to complete their degree within 3 years, their associate's degree, within 3 years of graduating from our training program. The department will help pay for these young men and women to get their degrees. This will also ensure that we continue to educate our department, not only through our training academy, but to provide them with educational opportunities. We're also focusing on hiring our heroes. I think most of you are aware of the fact that I used to be the cabinet secretary for the Department of Public Safety. And 3 years ago, we came to you and we talked to you about Transitions with Honor. Transitions with Honor is now a state-approved program where those people who have served in our military and who have completed military police training, and that's important, they must have completed military police training and must have an honorable discharge, will be considered to be one of our exceptional candidates. We also found out that we were losing our own employees, our public safety aides, as well as our prisoner transport unit people who were working already for the city of Albuquerque, but did not have the required college credits, that they were going to work for other police departments. So we've looked at this again, and we consider them to be exceptional candidates. They've worked for the city. They've demonstrated that they can perform. They've also demonstrated a commitment to the city. So we will be considering these applicants as exceptional candidates. To qualify for, there's also another program for any government employee, whether it be federal, state, or county government, with 5 years of consecutive service in the government. We will also consider you to be an exceptional candidate. What we're looking for are people with demonstrated, proven job history, good performance records. We are also offering a $5,000 hiring bonus once they complete their training. It's important for everybody to know that we believe that we are looking for quality candidates. Quantity is not what we're after. It is quality, and it's very, very important to us. We have launched our new website. It's APD Online. It's apdonline.com, and there people can learn more about our new exceptional candidate program. I'd also like to answer one of the questions that came to us through the social media. It came to us through Twitter, and the person asked us, I would just like to know, does APD still have its reserve officer program? And yes, we do. And anybody who's interested in the reserve training program can also go online and learn more about our reserve officer training program. So, any questions?
Chief, according to the district attorney and one of our sources, he recently had a cadet resign, a cadet who reported 2 officers for using excessive force. Do you feel that that could hurt recruitment efforts?
I think I need to address your question this way. Is on Monday, we made an announcement over social media, and we met with all the stations and all the media outlets individually. And one of the things I can say is this, is that the Albuquerque Police Department had an employee come forward and report misconduct. Those allegations and information was immediately taken to the United States Attorney's Office, the United States Department of Justice, and the New Mexico State Police. The APD employee who reported that misconduct is still an employee with the Albuquerque Police Department.
Chief, let me add on to Kai's question. Do you think the district's attorney's comments will affect your recruiting efforts that you're trying to announce today?
No, I don't think so. I think there's people that have a heart for service. I think they grow up with that heart for service. Some go into the medical profession. Some other choose some other form of public service, might be even the military. And no, I don't think so. And one of the things we're finding out is we hired a recruiting company to work with us. It's an online service. One of the things they're telling us is about 49% of all the applicants are going to APD Online first to find out about career opportunities. We're getting about 2 or 3% of people through job fairs. The rest is word of mouth. And we believe that with the program we have and some of the incentives that we've added, we've got a really good program. And we're going to keep pushing the program that we started last year. This is just an expansion of our effort to continue our recruiting.
Chief, after the DA made those comments, did you guys look at the training policy whatsoever, how you guys are doing things right now, and see if you're going to approach things differently after these allegations of excessive force surfaced?
No. As a matter of fact, all those things are under review. That's part of our DOJ settlement agreement. I'd also like to say is that one of the things that we stressed in the settlement agreement, you can read into it, it's clearly implied, we want quality people to come to work for the Albuquerque Police Department, and that's what we're looking for.
I could dovetail on that just a little bit. I can tell you, I've been talking to Chief since he came on board about recruiting, about retention. Of course, we've been to the legislature twice with what we think is a great opportunity that hasn't come through yet. But this is a conversation we have on a very, very regular basis. So I don't think there's anything reactionary in this. But it's interesting. We talk about the city of Albuquerque, and of course, we're going through a reform process. And there's many other cities in the country that are doing that. One of the advantages that I think Albuquerque has is that we have a community that is asking our officers, listen, we know reforms are important. We know accountability is important. We know that effective and constitutional policing is important. But as a community, we hear over and over again, we're supporting you in those efforts. And I think that, to kind of go to your question as well, I think that speaks volumes to these young recruits. It's interesting, there was a national survey done recently, and it wasn't our survey, it's just something I read, where they interviewed 3,500 people around the country about the legacy of policing. And as we know, policing across the country is a legacy business in some ways. People become police officers because their fathers and mothers and aunts and uncles were. And for 5 years ago, 70% of officers in the United States would say, I could recommend policing to a family member. And I don't want to give any credibility to this study because I didn't do it, but let me just say that the findings this year were that 81% said, not right now. And so there's a real national dialogue going on about policing, about what it means to be a police officer. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we're not missing those exceptional candidates. We have had some of these exceptional candidates come through that couldn't get through with that 60-hour requirement. And so we just want to make sure we're opening that opportunity for these individuals. If they could be stellar public safety professionals, we want them to have the opportunity to at least interview for the academy.
But what you guys are saying is that training protocols are under review at this time after that allegation surfaced.
The timing doesn't coincide to the announcement today at all. No.
Chief, I want to get back to the district attorney's comments, just to be clear, because it's important. Was it a cadet who made those allegations? Can you confirm it was a cadet, or was the district attorney flat out wrong?
As I said on Monday and Tuesday, the United States Department of Justice is handling this investigation. It's their investigation that involves our employees. They have asked us not to make any comment other than the comments that we've already made as it pertains to this matter.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you worry that you might be criticized for lowering the standards when it comes to the college credits, the way your predecessor was criticized for possibly lowering standards?
Well, we don't see this in that regard at all. We see this as an opportunity. And so one of the things that we did in my first term, we talked about adding a 60-hour requirement because we wanted to ensure that we had the highest and best qualified candidates. And what we found was that certainly did the job. But what we also found out is that there were select individuals, not everybody, but select individuals that would walk in the door to the Albuquerque Police Department and would want to serve their community. And because of that requirement at 60, we've done several things. A couple of years ago, we added a program for our PSAs, kind of an apprenticeship program with the PSAs. We added some military opportunities. And then what we've also found out is that, listen, we have had some people walk in. Maybe it's 5, 10, maybe it's 24. I don't know the exact number, but it's enough to where Chief and his staff felt like, listen, let's give them an opportunity to at least come in. You still have to interview. You still have to go through the 3 processes of talking about, it's a written exam, it is a physical exam, it's a psychological exam, all those things are in place. And he's set up a program now where you can actually, if you're one of those select individuals that can pass muster on that, you're going to come out with 28 college credits, and then the Albuquerque Police Department is going to help you go get your associate's degree. I think that's a meaningful thing, and it also ties in nicely with our mission graduate work that we're doing to try to add 60,000 college degrees. So I wouldn't see it from the standpoint of anything but an exceptional candidate. It doesn't mean anybody can get in. It just means that if you can prove that you're 24 years old, have great work experience, have a lot of people in the community can vouch for you, well, we're not going to deselect you for that simple thing when we know that we can get your college degree within 3 years.
And after those 3 years, if the college degree is not earned, what happens next?
They will be separated from the department. We may find another position with them within the Albuquerque Police Department in a civilian position, but they will no longer be allowed to be a commissioned officer. And Chris, I want to get back because one of the questions you brought up is really important. When we met with our community recruiting council, one of the things they told us was some of CNM and UNM are seeing some students drop out. And the reason they're dropping out, the primary reason they're dropping out is financial. Either they have a family to take care of, or there may be another situation. And they told us that, they've completed 3-4 semesters, but they just weren't at that 60-hour mark. And they said, we're missing them. And what we found that hurt us is that we have members from our own department whose children have gone to work for other police departments because they didn't have the 60 hours. Many of them had 32, 35, 36, but that number 60 was hard. So what we looked at was what is going on nationwide? What is going on around the country? And what can we do to bring in, it was their words, exceptional candidates, exceptionally good young men and women who were interested in public service, who wanted to be police officers, but that was standing in their way.
Chief, you talked about quality today, but do you guys have like a benchmark within 3 years that we want to get closer to that 1,000 officer number within a couple of years? If you have a plan?
Well, yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes. I mean, we authorize 1,000 officers because we'd like to have 1,000 officers. What we don't want to do is sacrifice just to get to 1,000 with people that you or I or families or our community wouldn't want carrying a badge and gun. I mean, it's that simple. And we have wonderful men and women who go out and serve every day, and we just want to make sure that we add to the ranks of a department that's full of professionals. And so it simply boils down to that. We felt like with our legislative fix, we could have gotten there fairly quickly, quite frankly. And we could have brought back some of our most experienced officers, those with stellar track records, would have been at the chief's discretion. And we felt like we had 100 to 150 officers we could have brought back. Didn't pass. So we're looking for other opportunities, and that's what we're trying to talk about today a little bit.
What have you identified as the biggest hurdle in trying to recruit people? What is it that makes this job unattractive to some people? Because when you think about it, these are high-paying jobs in this community, great benefits. Why aren't people taking these jobs?
Well, I think you can go back to articles that were written over a year ago that even a year ago, police departments throughout the United States were experiencing problems recruiting. It may be a different heart, people not wanting to go into public service, that they're looking at some other career or another opportunity. But one of the things we're at is we're after that person with the servant's heart. And one of the things we've done in our academy, and I'll put it up against any academy in the United States, is, we announced last year that we started this mentorship program, where with each group of cadets that are in class, we have a mentor with them. And that mentor's purpose is to be their guide and their mentor. But more important is to help them understand police work, help them through the process. But it's a contact from that point forward. That's the positive. Last year, our mentors came to us and said, this person should not be a police officer. This is why. It was documented, and they were dismissed. The mentorship program is working, And if people want to look at a good example of that continuous evaluation from the date that they start their cadet training until they complete their field training officer program, mentorship is working. It's working well with our department.
Let me just real quickly. Edna actually came in on social media and wrote a question. It says that you're very particular on recruiting. On one of the recruiting classes, they had over 1,100 applicants and only 30 made it. They are recruits that are military, there's a spelling error, and highly educated with college degrees. I'm confident in APD. But I think what she's asking is, people are coming forward. And I ask Chief and his staff all the time, how many interest cards did we have last go around? 500?
The last class we had.
Let's come up. This is Will Roseman. He's our deputy chief in charge of this. Point is, we have a lot of candidates and not that many make it to the academy. You want to address that real quickly?
Right, so for the last academy class, we had roughly 1,500 applicants. The problem we run into, you asked for the stumbling blocks, is we have 1,500 people apply to test, and we only get probably 200, 300 actually show up to do the testing process. So there's a lot of things that boil into this. We're getting a lot of looks, we're getting a lot of hits, we're getting a lot of interest. It's actually getting people down that can actually succeed through the process and make it all the way through. That's the problem we're having, and we're not alone with that.
And I think the reality check is that we will have 200 people show up to test. But by the time they get through the testing, we may be left with an applicant pool of about 25 people because of the 2 written tests, the physical test, the psychological, then they go through the background. And between the background and the polygraph, we continue to exclude people.
How is the department planning on tackling that issue of getting so much interest, but having a problem getting people to actually show up and put their feet on the ground?
Well, and that's where we're reaching out with these new programs right now, and that's what we're trying to do. A lot of this, some of the incentives we brought in is we're getting a lot of interest from out of state. Well, if you're coming in out of state to test, there's barriers that are there. So we've selected it down to a weekend that they can come in and test. Also looking at if they are successful in the process and graduate the academy, we'll reimburse their travel expenses up to $2,200 for coming here and testing. So there's little things like that, but the other is they have a 100% callback. So if you put in an interest card to the department, you're going to receive a call from somebody from recruiting to explain the process and try to help mentor you through that process. So there's things like that we're trying to do to change things to get people actually showing up, getting them to pass to where we can get them through the door.
A lot of it's grassroots. This is a brochure the chief has put together that we're going to have out in the community. And, we rely on folks in our community, too. Everybody knows an individual, a young person in our community that they think might be an exceptional public servant. This has a little place for referred by. We're just trying to get our community, like you would expect, to go out there and try to identify these young folks. And I think that's a key. And that's not really an internal APD issue, but it's something that I think matters. And it would matter not just in Albuquerque, but across the country. If we can get community leaders to be part of our eyes and ears out there, just to get people saying, hey, listen, I've seen you, I've watched you through high school, I've watched you through college, I've watched you through these experiences. You might be an exceptional candidate. Why don't you come in and talk about the fact that you can retire at 20 years. You start with 3 weeks of vacation, 2.5 weeks of sick pay. You can retire with 90% of your salary for the rest of your life after 25 years. I mean, you think about the amount of cash you'd have to accumulate in your time as a business person. It's over $1 million you'd have to accumulate on top of any salary you ever had just to get that benefit. It's a tremendous opportunity. I think sometimes we just need to go out there and then introduce them to the leaders that we have in our department and let them see the fact that it's an incredibly honorable yet difficult profession and might be a place for you.
Is there a number that the department doesn't want to get to as far as numbers and actual officers on the street? At what point does that number play a factor in saying, I know we want to do quality over quantity, but we got to start hiring some people and make sure we're protecting the community?
We always have to stick with quality. Quality has to be number one. We cannot deviate. We cannot change our quality requirements at all.
Even if numbers are bleeding?
Even if the numbers are bleeding. We cannot do that. It's so important for us as a community, for us as a department, to hire the best. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to hire the best. And I think we've set up one of the most robust, dynamic recruiting programs that's out there. I met with, it's called the Major City Chiefs. They're calling us and asking us about what we're doing on the social media and how we're using the social media to attract candidates. And that's what's so important to us. And we have found out that our investment dollars are best spent on social media, and that's who we're working with. It's a level 4 Google company that continues to help guide and direct us on finding what we call well-qualified candidates through pre-selection, through pre-screening on APD Online.
And just to wrap it up, that we have a great program to keep our retention bonuses in place and our longevity bonuses, and that is working. I think we had a list of folks that could have retired that didn't because of that program, so I want to thank the city council for that. Yeah. They appropriated $900,000 last year. There's $1.7 million in this year's budget. That really works great on that end. It's this front end of the equation that we really want to work on, and we had departments from Texas recruiting our officers. I've heard we've had departments in Colorado and Albuquerque trying to recruit our officers. So what we're trying to do is avoid this cannibalistic side of trying all these departments around the state and around the region trying to just trade officers. We know we need to get these young folks in on the front end, and I think Chief's got some good ideas to do that. And we're going to keep pushing it because we know it's important, and we appreciate everybody getting out there and telling folks in our community that APD is hiring. We're looking for exceptional candidates, well-qualified candidates. They'll come out of the academy, as I said earlier, well-trained, well-educated, and ready to perform great public service. And so we just wanted our community to know that we are in a very much in hiring mode. So